If you look at space companies, they've failed either because they've had a technical solution where success was not a possible outcome, they were unable to attract a critical mass of talent, or they just ran out of money. The finish line is usually a lot further away than you think. The odds of me coming into the rocket business, not knowing anything about rockets, not having ever built anything, I would have to be insane if I thought the odds were in my favor. It's important that we attempt to extend life beyond Earth now. It is the first time in the 4 billion year history of Earth that it's been possible, and that window could be open for a long time. Hopefully it is. Or it could be open for a short time. We should err on the side of caution and do something now. Yeah, well, I think anyone who likes fast cars will love the Tesla. And it has fantastic handling, by the way. This car will crush a Porsche on the track. Just crush it. So if you like fast cars, you'll love this car. And then, oh, by the way, it would take 6 months to get to Mars if you go there slowly with optimal energy cost. Then it would take 18 months for the planets to realign. Then it would take 6 months to get back, though I can see getting the travel time down to 3 months pretty quickly if America has the will. It would take 6 months to get to Mars if you go there slowly with optimal energy cost. Then it would take 18 months for the planets to realign. Then it would take 6 months to get back, though I can see getting the travel time down to 3 months pretty quickly if America has the will. My background educationally is physics and economics, and I grew up in sort of an engineering environment. My father is an electromechanical engineer, and so there were lots of engineering things around me. I think long-term you can see Tesla establishing factories in Europe, in other parts of the US, and in Asia. Obviously, Tesla is about helping solve the consumption of energy in a sustainable manner. But you need the production of energy in a sustainable manner. Boeing just took $20 billion and 10 years to improve the efficiency of their planes by 10%. That's pretty lame. I have a design in mind for a vertical liftoff supersonic jet. That would be a really big improvement. There are some important differences between me and Tony Stark. Like, I have 5 kids, so I spend more time going to Disneyland than parties. I think whenever there's something that affects the public good, then there does need to be some form of public oversight. There have only been about a half dozen genuinely important events in the 4 billion year saga of life on Earth. Single-celled life, multicelled life, differentiation into plants and animals, movement of animals from water to land, and the advent of mammals and consciousness. I'm personally a moderate and a registered independent, so I'm not strongly Democratic or strongly Republican. If anyone has a vested interest in space solar power, it would have to be me. There's no better place in the world for technology startups than Silicon Valley. There's such an incredible well of talent and capital and resources. The whole system is set up to foster the creation of new companies. I think most of the important stuff on the internet has been built. There will be continued innovation, for sure, but the great problems of the internet have essentially been solved. Even if producing CO2 was good for the environment, given that we're going to run out of hydrocarbons, we need to find some sustainable means of operating. Government isn't that good at rapid advancement of technology. It tends to be better at funding basic research. To have things take off, you've got to have commercial companies do it. It's obviously tricky to convert cellulose to a useful biofuel. I think actually the most efficient way to use cellulose is to burn it in a cogeneration power plant. That will yield the most energy, and that is something you can do today. SpaceX has the potential of saving the US government $1 billion a year. We are opposed to creating an entrenched monopoly with no realistic means for anyone to compete. The X is an amazing car, but we kind of got carried away with the art and technology. Obviously, you want great art, you want great technology, but we did get a little distracted from our mission, which was to advance the cause of electric vehicles. And it probably delayed us a little bit with the Model 3 as well. If we're going to have any chance of sending stuff to other star systems, we need to be laser focused on becoming a multi-planet civilization. Silicon Valley has some of the smartest engineers and technology business people in the world. The pace of progress on Mars depends upon the pace of progress of SpaceX. It is true that SpaceX is partially a government contractor, but it would be unfair to say that SpaceX is entirely a government contractor. The lessons of history would suggest that civilizations move in cycles. You can track that back quite far. The Babylonians, the Sumerians, followed by the Egyptians, the Romans, China. We're obviously in a very upward cycle right now, and hopefully that remains the case. But it may not. I don't think it's a good idea to plan to sell a company. I like the word autopilot more than I like the word self-driving. Self-driving sounds like it's going to do something you don't want it to do. Autopilot is a good thing to have in planes, and we should have it in cars. You need to live in a dome initially, but over time you could terraform Mars to look like Earth. In the case of Apple, they did originally do production internally, but then along came unbelievably good outsourced manufacturing from companies like Foxconn. We don't have that in the rocket business. There's no Foxconn in the rocket business. In the case of Apple, they did originally do production internally, but then along came unbelievably good outsourced manufacturing from companies like Foxconn. We don't have that in the rocket business. There's no Foxconn in the rocket business. For all the supporters of Tesla over the years. And it's been several years now, and there have been some very tough times. I'd just like to say thank you very much. I deeply appreciate the support, particularly through the darkest times. Silicon Valley has evolved a critical mass of engineers and venture capitalists and all the support structure, the law firms, the real estate, all that are all actually geared toward being accepting of startups. I think a lot of the American people feel more than a little disappointed that the high water mark for human exploration was 1969. The dream of human space travel has almost died for a lot of people. You need to be in the position where it is the cost of the fuel that actually matters, and not the cost of building the rocket in the first place. The revolutionary breakthrough will come with rockets that are fully and rapidly reusable. We will never conquer Mars unless we do that. It'll be too expensive. The American colonies would never have been pioneered if the ships that crossed the ocean hadn't been reusable. A Prius is not a true hybrid, really. The current Prius is like 2% electric. It's a gasoline car with slightly better mileage. The U.S. automotive industry has been selling cars the same way for over 100 years. And there are many laws in place to govern exactly how that is to be accomplished. Some companies out there quote a start of production that is substantially in advance of when customers get their cars. SpaceX is only 12 years old now. Between now and 2040, the company's lifespan will have tripled. If we have linear improvement in technology, as opposed to logarithmic, then we should have a significant base on Mars, perhaps with thousands or tens of thousands of people. What I'm trying to do is to make a significant difference in space flight and help make space flight accessible to almost anyone. We could definitely make a flying car, but that's not the hard part. The hard part is, how do you make a flying car that's super safe and quiet? Because if it's a howler, you're going to make people very unhappy. I think the high-tech industry is used to developing new things very quickly. It's the Silicon Valley way of doing business. You either move very quickly and you work hard to improve your product technology, or you get destroyed by some other company. I have made the mistaken assumption, and I will attempt to be better at this, of thinking that because somebody is on Twitter and is attacking me that it is open season, and that is my mistake. Physics is really figuring out how to discover new things that are counterintuitive, like quantum mechanics. It's really counterintuitive.